So the only time when we do the meditation, that's the time when we take a break from this continuum activities that we keep on doing all the time. Every single activity that you do is an end result of our thought process. Our thought process is based on the belief that there is a duality, and if you do X amount of work, you will achieve X amount of results, and then you'll be happy, and you keep doing all these things. So from the morning, then you wake up, till you go to bed at night, you keep doing all these things. But we never have a chance to step back and observe the whole process. So meditation gives us that chance to observe that whatever we've been doing is a continuum without letting us any chance of realization. So that's the time when we have to do this. Rajneesh gives a beautiful example of a stone. That there was a palace and kids were playing, and one of the kids, not knowing, picks up a stone, throws it towards the palace. Now the stone starts having an ego that I'm flying. I'm better. I'm better than all the other stones which are sitting on the ground. They cannot do anything. And the other stones had to agree that he's flying and we are not. Right? So the ego started. The stone was being thrown. Stone was not flying. But it was a wrong concept that the stone was, flying on its own. He keeps on going. He's flying all the way up in the air. He thinks that he's the best stone among all the riverbed. Finally hits a window, and the window breaks down. He thinks that he broke the window. It was an interaction, a natural process of a nature of the glass to break from something which was a nature of a stone. The nature itself was not the creation of the stone. It just happened. The stone was flying because of it force given from somewhere else. So the nature of the stone was to be hard. Nature of the glass was to be soft. So it broke. The stone had nothing to do with breaking the glass, even though it appeared that way.
Right.
So now the stone's ego was even more higher. Now it's realized that he could break the window, and he made so much noise. So he started saying that, look at this, I have so much power, right? So ultimately it lands on the grass, a beautiful grass on the other side. So the stone starts thinking that, oh, look at this, I'm so welcome by the king, I'm in the king's courtyard, and now they have made such a great arrangement for me, so they must be knowing that I'm coming, So all these preparations are being made, this and that. So ultimately the guards come, pick up the stone and throw it out. And then he says, well, yeah, this palace was like that, but I want to be with my friends, so I came back, So the ego was totally false. All these egos that we play around with, it is totally false. And it's all based on all these balloons that we tie on our body, the clothes that we wear. And unfortunately, that's all we think we are. And ultimately, it leads us nowhere. Our spiritual upliftment does not even start till we die, unfortunately. And then we have to try that in next life again. Hopefully, we will come to that point. But so if we are at that point, this is the time to move forward and move upwards. So that's why the burden of the past has to be given up. And that's the only way we can meet something new. Something new is being created all the time. And until we are ready to meet the new concepts and new ideas and the new people, that enthusiasm is an absolute must for us to move ahead in life. And the enthusiasm will not be there if we are tied to the past. That's what we just talked about. If a product has to come from a concept to the shelf, it will take 10 years in India, it probably will take 10 months in US. The whole atmosphere is geared towards the business, geared towards a better product that will benefit the people, it will reduce the cost or whatever, will improve the society. Not that you will be right all the time either. The new concepts will come, maybe they will not be good. but at least the readiness will be there to accept the new concept. And if it doesn't work out, also ready to throw that away and take a new one. That challenge has to be there for any country to progress, right? In India, it's not. We are stuck. How can we not? How can we give up milk? We've been doing it for so many years. Krishna Bhagavan has been doing this and that. How can we give up? We are tied to the past. If our internal atmosphere of our mind is ready to accept a new concept, analyze it thoroughly, and put it in the shelf, put it in the acting right away. I'm not saying of the concepts you have to put it in the action, but at least you should have a ready atmosphere available, your internal atmosphere, to be able to be open to the new ideas, new concepts, and have the ability to analyze it without past interfering with the present. And then, if you really get convinced, we should have ability to move forward regardless of what the society says, regardless of what other people say, regardless of what anybody thinks. That is staying synchronized with the consciousness. And that much ability keeps our minds sharp and more synchronized at the intellect level rather than getting tied by the past events, right? Because the thing is that this is a quest, right? We are trying to move ahead and do something in life. It's easy to live a horizontal life. It's the vertical life that's tough. But for that, you need the curiosity of a child, openness of a child. You give child anything, he will take it. You give him Coke, he will take it. You will give him carrot, he will take it. He's ready. But we are the one who spoil them. But at his mind level, I have seen a lot of parents who are very strict on their children. They grow up enjoying carrots and celeries and cucumbers and all that. And there's nothing wrong with that because their minds are ready to accept anything new. We have to have a curiosity of a child. We have to be able to embrace all the new things and evaluate, because at some day we're going to come face to face with Paramatma. Because in our spiritual journey, we keep breaking the old habits, we keep dropping the old things, we keep accepting the new things, thinking that it might do the job. It doesn't work out, you move on. All that ability requires flexibility of the mind, right? If you lose out on something, you made some mistakes in the past, even on a spiritual path, fine. Forget it. Take a new route, the new thing to try it out. You keep trying until at some point you're gonna reach this highest form of spirituality, the consciousness, the bliss, the samadhi. How are you gonna be ready for that, right? If you're not ready for day-to-day things, you cannot even give up small things. How can you, give up all the big things to meet the Paramatma? So we have to be spiritually ready for enlightenment even, and it can happen. But that spontaneity has to be there. And we cannot be tied by the teachings of this and teachings of that and all that. There is nothing wrong with teachings of any particular religion, but we cannot be tied by all those rules and regulations and instructions, and we cannot be bogged down by all these things. Ultimately, every single person who was enlightened had their own way. Krishna never looked like Buddha. Buddha never looked like Krishna. And Jesus Christ was totally nobody. Yeah. Everybody, it was an independent process. An independent process does not mean that they both one was wrong and one was right, like what we've been doing. The followers of one religion are saying that you are wrong and we are right, and we are right and you are wrong, and in that process the whole life goes. But they don't realize that their own leaders who started those religions were totally different. Right. So the spontaneity will come only if we develop the ability to analyze, dissect, and accept the new concepts. And that gives us the freedom, the joy. Because otherwise, someday, what's that?
Open mind.
Open-mindedness, exactly. And that generates the enthusiasm to try something new all the time. So, otherwise, someday, Amrit will come to us.
And we will not.
And we won't know. I told you the story about, I forgot the name, Udanya or something. It was in the story of Shankaracharya wrote, and he says that the guy kept on, worshipping God all his life. And then finally Vishnu became pleased. He says, okay, I'll send you the nectar. You be ready for it. So he does. But he tried to play a trick on him. So he took a form of a chamar, who handles the leather and all that. And he had one of the pot hanging on his waist. That's where he was delivering the amrut. But the pot was hanging exactly at the level where, as if it looked like a urinal pot. Right. But if you're on a journey and you don't want to urinate. So the pot looked like an ordinary pot. Right. So when it was offered to him, he thought he's getting urine instead of elixir amrit. So he refused. Right. And then so when we are not ready for it, even if it comes to us, we will not be benefiting from it. So for that you have to have an open mind and very alert mind. And the alertness will stay only if we are not brainwashed by the surroundings, the atmosphere. So that does not mean you don't get involved with the society. You are still part of the society, you are seeing the society, but it's not for you to grab. Grabbing anything and with the idea of possessing is kind of forcing God to give up something. And you're literally fighting with God. God says here, everything is here for you to enjoy. I step out in the morning, 5:15, 5:30, and I look at beautiful moon and the stars. I can't have them. It's for me to enjoy them. And it's going to go. It's fine. You're going to go too. You just enjoy the world, but you can't take them and you put it in your pocket. It's nothing for you to grab. Nothing, whatever you think is grabbing, is going to stay what's grabbed either. You put it in your pocket, it's going to become stale. The flower instead of that, the flower on the plant itself probably could have spread the fragrance to probably 10 or 15 other people. But you put it in your pocket.
If you are enjoying, you never want to possess them.
Exactly.
If you don't enjoy, then only you want to possess
right.
them.
Once you possess, you won't be able to enjoy it.
Right, exactly.
Like your wife. You possess, you can't, man.
So the very delicate balance is unfolding in front of us. We are given a chance of a lifetime. In front of us, the consciousness is opening this beautiful, beautiful world. It's only for us to smell it, touch it, hear it, and move on. And that's it. These senses are also created by the consciousness just so that we can reciprocate the beautiful things which are opening up in front of us. If we did not have these senses, we wouldn't be able to enjoy those either. We gave an example of the tetrachromates, right? One cone in our eye can perceive 100 different colors. But we are born with three different cones. So, but a lot of animals have only 2 cones in the retina. So 2 cones, you multiply 100 by 100, 10,000 colors. Still, animals are pretty good. They can identify 10,000 different shades of a color. But wait, we have 3rd cone. So multiply 10,000 with another 100 million colors. We have capacity to differentiate million different shades of color. But that's not where the story ends. So they did a study, scientists, it was in a Discover magazine, and we talked about it, that they found that even like there were some people who had colorblind, right? They could not differentiate the red and the green. So they would use the green and of a different shades to recreate and a yellow, green and yellow combined and recreate so they have to be trained basically to look at the traffic lights and things like that so they can understand what kind of traffic pattern is going on. So they found out that their siblings, their children, offsprings, were normal. One of the parents was colorblind, but the children were normal, but the child also could differentiate within the shades of red alone. So they compared one sibling with another. So even it was not a watertight compartment of 3 colors, red, green and blue. They could differentiate within the shades of red much more than another sibling. One sibling would take X amount of colors to identify to make a final perfect combination of red, green, and yellow, right? But another sibling would have another variation. So the scientists thought that the one of the cones must be expressing in a variable way. Cannot be just 1, 2, and 3 cones and that's it. They figured that there has to be expressibility of each cone in a different way. So now that generates multitude of possibilities, because if you realize 1 million colors that we can differentiate, but if somebody has another cone, multiply million with another 100, you're talking about 100 million colors. So they conceptually, they thought that there must be another cone existing. And they did find a woman who had a capacity to differentiate much more than you and I can. Like if a red color is shown to us, we'll say, okay, it's red. You will say it's red. But she will say, yeah, but this one is more red than this. And to us, they will look the same. Like that. So there was so much expressibility, variability in the expression. So what I'm saying is the consciousness is creating this tremendous multitude of expressions throughout our life, and that's for us to enjoy. So that shows the power of consciousness to generate all these variabilities. And it is amazing. Not one person has the same fingerprint as somebody else. The DNAs and the genetic structures and even the two twins are not the same. Now, that's only at the physical level. You say, okay, two twins look alike. But talk about thoughts and ideas. There is like,
Infinite.
it's infinite. The expression of infinite is also infinite.
Exactly.
So there is no way you can comprehend with just the ideas of your thoughts and calculations and mathematics. It's very limited.
Arithmetic.
Yeah, there is no way to express, to grasp the whole thing.
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton's arithmetic.
Numbers doesn't match.
Oh, yeah.
So
Clinton's talk.
there is a very delicate balance going on between our senses and the expressions that are happening of the consciousness around us. And it's very subtle balance that we exist, we have X amount of senses and X amount of instruments or tools given to us to enjoy what we are supposed to enjoy. I'm sure there are a lot of things which are happening that we cannot perceive, like X-rays or ultraviolet. So we cannot perceive with our normal eyes, but they're there. But we are given certain instruments to enjoy. The same way a kite flying a mile up in the sky, hawk, or you can see the snake a mile down, we cannot. Because that particular instrument is given to him for its own survival. So everything is basically a chance. A stone is being thrown. We are not flying. So that shows us that the existence of ego is useless. And that's the number one condition to reach to the samadhi level, is our ability to drop that ego. And when we drop that ego, the whole life becomes a dance. Then it becomes an enjoyable thing. Because then you have nothing to really fight for. They have nothing to give up. There is nothing to grab. What else do? You just have fun, right? But we maintain our egos in a very special way by belonging to all these organizations and religions and all that. And what could be a better cause than a religious organization to maintain your ego? Like in a civilized society, like I said, if I want to look better than you, I have to struggle very hard. I have to work very hard to make such and such money, or I have to look such and such better, I have to drive a better car. It's very hard for me to maintain my ego until someone else comes up and there's a lot of competition. But I could be just sitting here and say, oh, Hinduism is the best religion. Especially if I'm among Hindus, who is going to question me? Fine, it suits them too.
Right.
Because that makes him better too. So we find our niches in a very subtle way to express our egos. And mind likes it because in a very subtle way, it's able to do all these things without getting punished. So there is no competition, especially if you speak to your own organization or group of people. Until you step out, then you have a problem.